Well, there are two lists. I hear the first list is a politicians list, and the second one is more a technocrats, which is, I mean, in any government, you would always have to have that sort of mix, I guess. But what I want to ask you is this. Do you find that this screening of ministers has any point to it? Some people have said, we're just watching them being asked questions that don't really matter anyways. It doesn't, whether they answer them right or wrong, there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, you talk about Fashola, there were some questions that he scattered around eventually and didn't get to answer, but we still applauded. So do we need this long hours spent paying senators sitting allowances for something that we shouldn't really be bothering ourselves with?
Well, I guess due process anyway, first things first. And I guess it gives some sense of transparency to the entire thing, because everything is different now in terms of our political landscape and how things are being run. You know, there's a heightened awareness in these things and current affairs now. So, of course, the people want to have that feeling of being taken along. You know, how, you know, and there's been a lot of, should I call it hype, around the ministers. And just like Seyitan said, it's a bit anticlimactic. When the list finally came out, I was like, okay, what's Audo doing there? You know, but let me not call names. But I expect.
Why can't you call names?
Well, okay, Audo. I expected to see some names I didn't see there, like Patutomi. I was expecting to see Patutomi.
You mentioned Audo there. Are they not in the same generation? So it's not a generational
No,
thing for
it's
you?
also about, I mean, it's not just generation. Well, that's a bit, because I expected to see more younger people on the list, but also about people that we have more confidence in. And Audrogbe has been there for how many decades now, and I'm not sure of how much he has done. You know, how much effect his presence has made all these years. Someone like Ezekwesili, I really was hoping, although I remember her saying or recall some news about her promising not to hold public office again. But I was hoping, you know, they'll find a way to woo her. But as far as the screening exercise goes, it's been half and half. I won't say completely a farce. I'll say, you know, there were some hard questions that were asked, although I felt that for the most part, the senators were not properly prepared. But you can't also completely blame them, because they don't know what portfolios that each nominee...
You just opened my next question for me now, because, I mean, it's one of the change things a lot of people thought was going to happen with this new government. If we're going to do the screening then, anyways, why not then present them with a portfolio so that senators have proper questions to ask? Say, okay, you're going to be Minister of Agriculture. Let's ask you agricultural questions. I mean, Fashola had questions from about 18 different sectors of the economy. Don't you? I mean, so what's the point to it eventually? Is what I mean. You know what I mean? I mean, Fashola got asked questions about Abuja, then tax, then the economy, then law, then fiscal planning, then environment. And I'm like, are you running for president?
I don't. I've tried over and over again to see the advantages in having the screening without portfolios attached. Well, I asked someone and we were discussing, and the person said, well, probably because to prevent heavy lobbying for certain positions, maybe like finance or things. But this doesn't really help us in the screening exercise, because even the senators were, you know, it was like a deer in headlights situation for a lot of them.
Just kept throwing
throwing questions.
I think it was just the Kachiku guy who got asked petroleum questions because everybody knows.
Of his background, I paid close attention to, and he made a lot of solid points. You know, I have personally a lot of interest in that industry anyway, because that's where I work. But anyway, he made a lot of solid points. But for the most part, you know, a lot of nominees were just, I mean, even a senator was talking about how he comes to Lagos every weekend. Wow, okay. Nice.
Let's talk about Rotimi Amaechi now. Do you think he's going to make it through? I'm putting you on the spot now. Do you think he's going to make it through? Yeah, because a lot of people don't think he will.
Well, I think he will. And I say this, Dotun is like,
yeah.
And, you know, he's a very controversial person, first off. That's right off the bat. But he's also a very persistent person. And he's been able to, you know, stay in the headlines for so long, not just because of, you know, all these things that have been happening, but because, let me put a question to you. I was telling her outside that, you know what, we're we're kind of relaxed about these names. We're not really impressed because we wanted something else. But then if we look at it and we say, okay, these people that are on the list, can they actually do the job that we want them to do? That's the most important question. If they can, then maybe these people can actually bring the change that it is that we're looking for. And I see Rotimi Amaechi as someone that, now that he's been put under the spotlight, he might or he will
spotlight
deliver.
Is brighter than governor? Do you think he performed as governor?
He performed to an extent. He spent half the time, as governor, fighting lots of battles. Probably if he wasn't doing that, and while he was there, he would have been able to achieve a lot more. But now that it's almost like it's the same thing is happening again, if that is taken out of it, if we can just focus on him doing what he's supposed to do, then maybe he would be able to, deliver.
Doesn't want a reservation?
Well, I mean, like she said, and like facts and everything shows, he's a very controversial person. And I would say I wasn't completely surprised his name came on the list because of very, very strong party ties. And as much as we all want change and as much as we all want to believe that the much awaited change is here, politics is politics. That's the truth. Party ties are party ties. An example of that is how, Lai Mohammed's name was overlooked. But anyway, let me not digress. Amaechi will most likely make it from the way I see it, a bit of fracas, but he'll make it. I think he'll make it. And I'm not holding my breath as to how well he will perform. I guess this is just a wait and see situation. And I'm not even sure what portfolio he can get. Maybe FCT, I'm not sure. Because I had a look at his CV and I'm not sure.
Niger Delta, maybe?
Well, yeah, probably. Yeah, probably that. Yeah, that's another one. So we'll see. We'll see.
Should be interesting. I can't wait for Tuesday, honestly. I was slightly disappointed he didn't show up on Thursday or when they moved it to Tuesday, but we can always wait for that. Let's move on now to another senator who's been in the news, very popular guy, former governor of Akwa Ibom State, who was arrested, but he says he was only invited.
Arrested.
Yeah. Governor Godswill Akpabio, or Senator Godswill Akpabio now, he was invited for questioning. We don't know if it was an arrest or just an invitation, but there's a lot of figures being thrown around, over 100 billion naira allegedly being, I don't know, fraudulently used or misused or whatever the case is. Did that come as a surprise to you?
No.
He's a minority leader, by the way. Let's put that clearly out there.
No, but the thing is, at this point, we can only... It's still a wait and situation because, when he went into the EFCC office, a lot of people were like, finally he's been arrested, and then he's released, and people are now like, oh, okay, he's back home now, and he's releasing statements and saying, no, I was just invited because they wanted to ask me a couple of questions about, so and so. So at this point, it's either we wait for the EFCC to actually release an official statement for his arrest, or, something just happens and then he's not arrested. But then he's quite confident in the fact that, he has nothing to hide. He didn't steal anything. He wasn't fraudulent in his time in office. So at this point, we can only just wait and see if he's going to be arrested. But then I always have conspiracy theories in my mind, like, maybe he actually did something, and then this is almost like a power play, like, oh, we know what you did, but we're going to let you go because, for something in the future. You never know. But now... we can only just wait and see to see what they're going to do.
President Buhari has talked a lot about his fight against corruption, but he's also been accused recently now of having way too many invitations without any sort of follow through, with like proper convictions or even court proceedings. Do you agree with that?
Wait
or are we judging too early?
Yeah, that's why I said wait and see. So we'll see if this will be Obasanjo 2.0. Because I remember back then there was a lot of...
Invitation.
Yeah, there were a lot of invitations, and one of the terms that Nigerians have come to love, witch hunting. So we'll see if this will be a situation of, things actually going and following, their, what's the word, sensible conclusion, being followed through to the end. Or we'll see if this will just be, an issue of barking and no biting. So we'll just wait and see. I'm hoping that things will be different, but we'll see.
Okay. So before we go now, just a quick sort of run through of what we should be expecting next week. I know there's ministers that's going to be coming, of course. There's also, invitations, like I said, with Akpabio and all of that. Seyitan is still in the news. Let's talk about the fact that Nigerians always equate, even if it's an invitation or an arrest, they expect you to stay locked up through that, you know. And there's something called a legal system where you shouldn't be held for more than 24, 48 hours. So that's also possible. But another possible reason why maybe this guy gets taken in and get let out until proper proceedings are led in. So let's just leave it at that. Thank you very much. Ambode is in the news, but we can't really go through all of that now. And of course, congratulations to the Red Group on your 10th anniversary. You hit 10 years. And you had an amazing events over the last couple of days and ended it with an amazing gala yesterday. Congratulations to Red Media and all of the great things you continue to do. We wish you 10 more years, 20, 50, 100, whatever it is you can achieve. Thank you very much, Dotun. Thank you very much, Seyitan.
Thank you
for being here today. And we hope that next week brings better things.
Hopefully.
And we've seen if your bet goes through with Amaechi.
Looking forward to Tuesday.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to Tuesday. We'll be right back with more. Please stay with us.